Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Turtle Wins the Race Home-Based Business Podcast. And this is where I talk about home-based business that I've had one for 23 years. So this is what we chat about. I realized that at the end of last week's podcast, I kind of commented about the squirrels eating all your pears. And I had forgotten that I hadn't mentioned that story in the podcast. So it probably confused people. But I am going to use that story in this podcast. So you'll understand it at the end. And it was kind of a little cliffhanger for this week, right? So this week, what I want to talk about, and I mentioned this last week, is when is it time to quit? And I know that a lot of people at various points, myself included, have thought, I am just so done with this, I am going to quit. And I tend to do that. And there are things that you can do to kind of alleviate that feeling without completely quitting, and I'll mention some of those as I'm discussing this. But the main thing to remember, and as I was talking about last week, it takes time to grow a business, and you should not be afraid to kind of change direction if it doesn't work for your life at that part of your life. So instead of just quitting, although sometimes there is a point where you need to quit, sometimes that's just the best option for you. If that's the best option for you, don't feel bad about it. You need to do what you need to do. But instead of just quitting at the drop of a hat, there are some things that you can look at. Maybe you can change. Maybe you can shift things up if you don't 100% want to quit, whatever. But let's talk about that, because it is a question that comes up. When is it time to quit if this is not working for you, or whatever the reason is? Sometimes you just want to throw it all in the dumpster and walk away, light it on fire, burn that thing down. So the first thing that will give you a big clue about whether you should quit is if you wake up every morning hating your work. If you hate your life, if you're like, why am I doing this? Then just stop. Why? There's no reason. If you're waking up every morning upset that you have to do what you're doing, why are you doing it? If you have a home-based business, then my assumption is that you did that possibly for freedom and the flexibility that it gives you. And home-based businesses do give you flexibility, although it does lock you in other ways. But it should give you some flexibility in your life and your schedule and just the way that you go about the world. If you're waking up every day thinking, why am I doing this? And that flexibility isn't an offsetting factor, then maybe you should just go get a job. And that's fine. See, I think that people, especially if you're an artist, you're someone who's creating your own stuff, you're making your own stuff. If people are not buying it, then it feels like a personal failure. It feels like they are rejecting you and not your products, not your artwork. They're not rejecting you. Maybe what you're making isn't in demand right now. And, I think of the mom jeans. Let's talk about mom jeans for a minute. Because I was thinking about this morning. There are trends that come and go. Sometimes what you're selling is trendy. Sometimes it is not. Sometimes things are in fashion. Sometimes they are not. And I have lived long enough to see many different types of jeans. And every time a specific style comes out, suddenly the last style is terrible and it looks bad on everybody. Nobody should wear that. And I remember the high-waisted jeans thing when that was such an insult. Mom jeans, you're wearing mom jeans. Let's not get into the politics of insulting moms all the time, okay? But the fact that at that point in history, which I guess are just high-waisted jeans. I don't know what mom jeans even are. They just seem to have a higher waistline. I don't know. But that was when like the real low-cut jeans, like we would call them hip huggers, right? When the hip hugger jeans, but they wouldn't have called them that. They were low cut or whatever. When those were popular, everything else looked terrible on everybody. And the boot cut jeans too. I personally enjoy a boot cut jean. I like them. But then the straight leg jeans came in. They're like pencil pants, right? And everybody needed to wear those because boot cut jeans, oh my God, I never stopped wearing them. I'm not going to wear something that is like a tourniquet on my legs. No. So regardless, whenever something comes into fashion, They have to get rid of everything else so they can sell more of what they're saying is trendy now. And everything is, everybody looks terrible in those high-waisted jeans. And that was like 10, 15 years, maybe 10 years ago. Everybody looks terrible and they're not good for anybody. Well, I look around now and everybody's wearing high-waisted jeans. Okay. So whatever, it's all propaganda. Fashion is all propaganda. Wear what you like. Enjoy yourself. Be comfortable. That's my opinion. All right. So the point being, as I went off on my little jean rant, the point being is that just because you're selling something now that people aren't buying it, it might be really popular in a while. And it's not a rejection of you necessarily. It could just be a trend. So don't take it personally if you're making something that people are not buying right now. Okay, it doesn't relate to your self-worth as a human being if people are not buying your products. There could be many, many, many other reasons. It could be a glut in the market. There's just too much to select from. It's a, supply demand thing. Who knows? It could be trendiness. Who knows? But it's not related to you as a person. So if you have a business where you're selling something and suddenly you can't make sales, or you never could make sales, and you have to go get a job, don't take it as a personal failure. It might just be that it wasn't a product that was in style right now. Wait 10 years. I don't think we'd want to wait 10 years, but that's the point, is that it could just be a style thing. Don't take it personally. Supply demand is not something that you can control all the time. And, so all the people that said the mom jeans were terrible, they're all wearing them now, whatever. Okay, that's all. But if you wake up every morning and you hate doing what you're doing, it's time to quit. Because why are you doing that to yourself? And if you, like I said, if you're taking this in a personal way, don't. But if you wake up every morning saying, nobody is buying my stuff, I hate this, I feel terrible about myself because of that, then you probably need to go and do something else and maybe come back to this later. If trends change, if styles change, maybe you have a different product you want to try, whatever it is. It's not a personal failure if what you're making isn't selling right now. But if you wake up every morning hating what you're doing because you feel that way, or just because you're sick of doing what you're doing and it's not working for you, then just go do something else. Go get a job, take some time off, just quit for a while. Put your shop on vacation, walk away. Sometimes the platform doesn't work. And I know people who have put their Etsy shops on vacation or closed them permanently because of things that Etsy's doing, or Etsy's not showing them in search, and they can get sales in different places. Then maybe that's time to shut your shop because of that. If the platform is not working, not every platform doesn't work for everybody. So if the platform is not working for you and the system isn't working for you, but you seem to be having success somewhere else, it makes more sense to spend time over where you're having success than to try to make this platform that is not working for you actually work, because it might never work. You don't know. But if you're having success somewhere else, then go spend your time there. So that's not necessarily quitting, but sometimes you shut one shop down and you're still selling somewhere else. You know what I mean? The next time to quit, but maybe not 100%. And this kind of goes with, selling in other places, is if you hate your product. If you hate one specific product, and oh my God, I used to make, and I've told this story before, but I will tell it again. The little gum paste succulents. They're little edible succulent cake toppers. And you guys remember about 4 or 5 years ago, succulents were all the rage. And this goes along with the trendy thing. If all I was making is gum paste succulents, I don't think I would be making as many sales now as I did then, because they're not as trendy anymore. Just an aside. But I was making these stupid things for about 2 hours every day because I was getting so many orders for them. And yeah, they were cute. They were, I would say they were relatively quick to make, but they were a pain to ship because they were very fragile. I had a way to make them fast. I had figured out a way to kind of, assembly line it. I knew how to pack them right, but it was just, anytime I got an order for them, I would cry a little bit inside. And it's the same thing as if you're waking up in the morning and you're hating your life because you have to do this work. I was hating this product so much because it was just ridiculous. I hated them. And I was making relatively decent money, I thought, but I went and looked and it wasn't as much money as I felt I should have been making. When I went back and looked at the last year, how many of these did I sell? Actually did the reality check, looked at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. I can think to myself, I have sold tens of thousands of dollars worth of these. And it really wasn't that much. I think it was maybe like $8,000 or $9,000 worth. I don't remember specifically, but I looked at that number and I thought, is the amount of aggravation that I have suffered when I get an order for these and then I have to be making them every single day nonstop. Well, it's not nonstop. It felt nonstop. It feels nonstop. Is that money something that I could give up, or is it something that I could make up in another area? And can I stop making these and I will feel much happier? And the answer was yes. So I decided just to stop making them completely. And at that point, the undercutters had started coming in too. And I'm like, okay, this is a good time. Let them have this. If they want to sweat and make all this stuff and pick up the dregs as this trend dies out, feel free, enjoy yourself. I didn't like that product anymore. And I've done this with several products recently where I'm just like, you get an order for it and you're like, oh my God, I can't even handle this. If that's the feeling that you get from something, you have complete control over what you sell. So don't sell that anymore. So I just eliminated it. Now, if it is something that is bringing you a large amount of money, like a big percentage of your business, that's a little harder to make that decision because you're basically giving up the income from that. And you have to take a look and see, is this a trend that's dying out? Is it going to be something that's not making me as much money down the road? Is it something that is not making me as much profit as I think? If you sit down and actually look at your numbers for that one individual product, and if you're on Etsy, you can download the CSV files and sort and then add everything up just to see what that specific product is doing for you. That might be a better, it's going to be an accurate estimate of how much you've actually made, as opposed to you thinking, oh, because it always feels like you're making more money for something because you feel like you should be than you actually are. In my case, now what's happening with me is I want to eliminate the silicone molds eventually because it's just something that is like a chemical thing for me. And I've started to develop a sensitivity to certain types of silicones. And I really don't want to develop an allergy down the road because I'm still making these things. So I want to kind of eliminate them. And they don't take any time to make, honestly. They're pretty quick to make. So that's not really the issue. I just don't like the chemicals in them. And because I did have a reaction to one type of silicone, and the doctor said, never touch that again. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen with the kind that I'm using now. So I looked at my Etsy to see how much I actually made on them. And it was a good amount of money. And I cannot make that up with another product easily. Like I can't guarantee that I can make that up with another product. So what I'm doing instead of just eliminating them completely is that when a mold comes up for renewal, like if it doesn't sell in 4 months, I have come up with the little formula for myself. And I think I mentioned this in one of my lives or something, or I talked about this somewhere, but I have a little formula in my head that I look at how much I have spent renewing it over the years and how much it's actually sold using the Etsy stats for that listing. And if it doesn't come out to 10 times or more of what I've renewed it for what I've sold it for, I'm just not relisting it. So instead of completely eliminating them, I'm just kind of whittling away the listings as they come up for renewal. I'm kind of evaluating them and I'm getting rid of the ones that aren't selling as much. And that way I'm reducing my inventory and I'm probably reducing the number of silicone molds that I will sell, because those usually do sell eventually when someone needs something really specific. But I don't need to have all those in my shop if I'm eventually going to be not selling them at all. I still am selling them on my website, but on Etsy, I'm letting them kind of expire and then I'm evaluating and we'll see. So if you hate the product, just stop selling it. But if you are looking at something and you kind of don't want to eliminate it completely, then you can make a little system for yourself, whatever works for you, and make that decision based on that system about how much money you're going to be losing if you don't sell this. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. Everybody's system is going to be different. But if you can eliminate some things, then that might take some of the pressure off and you won't hate the product quite so much. Now, I did mention the pears. Okay, at the end of the last podcast, I said something about growing your business and being persistent. It takes time. But then the squirrels come and eat all your pears anyway. Now, I had said that because in my head, I was thinking about the story of my pear tree. I have 2 pear trees in my backyard that I planted when my kids were really little. And I remember when I planted them thinking it's going to take until they are out of high school before these actually start producing pears, because that's how long it takes for fruit trees to start producing fruit. And yeah, that's exactly how long it took. So we got the pear trees. Oh, look, they're making pears this year. Oh, look, there's a squirrel and he's ripping all the buds off. Look, that little, I can't say the words because YouTube will demonetize my account. But yeah, the squirrels would come and rip the buds off. They would rip the pears off. And so for about 4 or 5 years, we didn't get any pears, even though the tree was producing. However, one year, for some reason, the squirrels decided to leave the pear tree alone. And there were so many pears that I was like, where were you, squirrels? Come and take these pears. Because you see the pears on the tree and you can't not pick them. So here's my husband and me out there with a ladder, like trying to get the pears because we felt like we had to. And we had so many pears that year. It was just unpleasant. And of course, who gets to, mess with the pears? Me. So I had pears in the garage. I had pears in my freezer. It was a mess. I was peeling pears for a very long time. I did not enjoy that. So the next year I was like, hey, squirrels, look, it's blooming. Go get it. And I don't care if the squirrels take the pears. That's fine. So sometimes, and that made me think, if it takes time to build a business, it takes time to build a listing quality rating on Etsy so that it does start selling. You might not like what happens. And that actually was something that happened to me recently when I came across this great product and people started buying it like crazy. But then I was like, I hate making this. So it goes back to, do you like the product or not? If you don't like doing it, then why are you doing it? So I just quit selling those completely. And then I'm getting emails. Do you sell these anymore? I'm like, no, I don't. So if, just because you've worked on something for a long time and it's taken that long, if it really, really, really starts paying off and you hate every minute of it, there's no reason you have to keep doing it just because it took that long. All right. Because sometimes you think, yeah, I think this is a great idea for me. This is a great product. This is really going to sell. And then it starts selling and you're like, oh, I hate this. I hate doing this. I hate making this. It's okay to quit. It's okay to let the squirrels come and eat your pears. Just because you've put time into something, they call that the sunk cost fallacy, right? Just because you've put time into something, it doesn't mean that that's something that you need to keep doing. So go look that up. But if you have put a lot of time into something and you still hate doing it, there's no reason you need to keep doing it. All right. The next reason you should quit either your Etsy shop or selling something is if you're losing money or you're not making enough profit. And that's something you need to start looking at from the very beginning. Just if you're losing money, then why are you doing it? Like I said, go get a job, go work at McDonald's. You're not going to lose money that way. You're not going to be making much, but it's going to be more than you're making if you're losing money. So if you have a product or a shop that is losing money, why are you doing it? Take a nap, close it down and go take a nap instead, because that's going to be a better use of your time. And that's all I'll need to say about that. Okay. Another time when you need to think about whether you want to close your business or not is if you have changed everything, like you literally have tried everything. Now, I will say that people tend to say, I've done everything that I know how to do. I've tried everything. And basically, they've tried what they know how to do. It doesn't mean they've tried everything, because when they tell me that and I go look at their shop, there's about 20 things that they could be doing and they're not. So, if you're doing the same thing over and over and it's not working, that's the definition of insanity. It's like you're doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity. You have to try different things. But if you have changed things and you've tried different things and given it enough time, like I was talking about last week with giving it enough time and being persistent, if you have given it enough time and you're not seeing results, And enough time is subjective. So if you've given Pinterest a month, that's not enough time. So check in with people who know about what you're doing and see, is this enough time? But if it is enough time, if you've been doing Pinterest for a year and you're getting 0 visits to your website, then maybe you should be doing something else, or you should be changing the way that you do Pinterest. So it's not just that you should leave the platform and quit it completely, but look to see what you're doing and how you could be doing that differently, because you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. All right. So if you have changed things, you've tried everything, things didn't improve, you hate your life, you hate your business, just quit. Shut it down, and you can always come back to this. See, this is the thing. You can always come back. You can always come back later once you take a break and you clear your head and you take a breath and you relax a little bit. Then you can see, do you feel better not doing this, or do you really want to try it again? Do you want to try something else? That's fine. But sometimes if you've tried literally everything and it is not working, then it is time to just give it a break and go do something else. Okay. And I mean, like selling on Etsy versus a website, or selling somewhere else, whatever. Sometimes the platforms won't work for you. And I've said that already. Now, the one thing that will give you the ability to just walk away is to have money in reserve. All right. So what I would say is, if you ever get to the point where you're like, I need to quit for my mental health or just for my own well-being, physically, mentally, whatever, I can't take it anymore, it really helps if you have a savings account or some cash that you can live on. So even if your business is going really well right now, I would suggest that you build up different incomes that you can put away, or you have some kind of a safety net. Just build up a safety net, build up a savings account that you can draw from if you need to pay your rent and you just want to walk away. This is so important, and I think it's something that people say, oh, I don't have any money I can save. You always have money that you can save if you just don't go and buy that one thing, whatever it is. You know what, you guys? Use coupons at the grocery store. Buy the BOGOs. I love grocery shopping because it's a game to me. And I've gotten my husband involved in this now that he's retired. And my daughter said that when she was little, she thought we were dirt poor because I used coupons. I'm like, no, I love coupons because it's a game. I love going to the grocery store and walking out with $100 worth of stuff for less than 50% of what it would have cost me. If I don't save at least 50% at the grocery store, I'm not happy. 49%, I'm not happy. All right, it's a game. And that is the kind of thing that will allow you to build up a savings account, which then, if you decide that you need to quit your job or you need to shut your Etsy shop and just take a couple of months off, you will have that money in reserve. And it is so important. I cannot emphasize that enough. And I think for next week, I will talk about diversifying your income, because there are a lot of ways that home-based business owners, especially the ones who are creative and who sell online, there are so many ways that you can make extra money online without having to go get a job. But even if you do go get a job, that's fine. There are so many ways that you can take extra money and just put it in the bank and not spend it, just wait, or invest it somewhere. I don't care. But you need to have an emergency fund, all right? Because that will give you the ability to walk away if it is time to quit and you need to do that for yourself. So I'll talk about that next week. Leave me any questions, and I will see you later.